This is the topic Go Ham, no, not Glam. I actually steal these topics from ContraTurle. Initially, when I watched his video, by the way, this is his video thumbnails. You can look at this. So basically, he's telling people that, okay, he's 38 years old. He want to build a portfolio of $4.5 million. And then he mentioned about this, like options, right? Whether you should put your nest eggs or build your nest eggs in condo or versus stocks. I think this is a good topic because actually, I mean, for those who watch let's say my YouTube, right, you know that I'm really focusing on stock investing, right? Actually, if you ask around, just ask your friends, right? I believe most people actually, their net worth, right, is with properties. They actually, let's say like they play the upgrade games, right? They buy one houses, let's say bought it at 500K, and then a few years later, he will sell and then buy another one that is 1 million. And then you slowly upgrade from HDB to EC to condo and then to larger condo. And then for those who can afford, even go landed, right? So I think that's much more common or much more, it's a strategy that used by a lot, like many people. But here in this channel, in ContraTurle channel, I talk about stock investing all the time. So how do you choose between these two, right? But I think the key point here, right, when we talk about like all this condo, I don't want to focus too much on the merits of the investment, because when we talk about the merits, I think condo or whether it's HDB, I mean, these are still assets, and assets provide utility, and then it can provide returns, right? So I don't want to discount that part. The part that I want to focus on is really talking about like when people buying, let's say like upgrading their houses, especially when you can't afford but you still stretch yourself to buy a much larger or more expensive houses. What's the intention there, right? So maybe for quite a number of people, they do it whether it's like they knowingly do it, or sometimes it's like unconsciously they do it because they want to looks good, right? It's more like a social economic status. It's a form of signaling. So it's quite similar as like buying a premium luxury watch, right? You just want to show people that, hey, I made it, so I have good income, I can spend money on all this luxury stuff. And all these things is not just like things that you bought, right? Like the watches that I mentioned. People also use house to kind of like signal to people like, I'm from the high SES, right? That's one. And then maybe it's like traveling also could be one. Like people will keep on sharing their traveling. If you really enjoy traveling, I think that's good. I have no problem with people travel and spend their money on things that they enjoy, right? But when you travel just because you need to show people that you are traveling and you don't enjoy watch, you still want to buy one just to show people. The SES part, that is the part that I want to focus a lot more, because I think this one, if you suck into all this SES game, right, I doubt people actually enjoy that. It's more like they pressure into it, right? So it will be something that actually quite detrimental to your financial health now. So I want to like quickly touch on all these topics here. So I just picked one slides from ContraTurle video. By the way, watch the videos. Let's say if you haven't watched that, it is very, very good videos. Okay, so basically he's like telling people that, okay, we should not go glam, we should go ham. Ham stands for HDB, A, avoid cars, M, market index investing, and just avoid glam lah. Basically it's great looks or mortgage. Basically that part is talking about like, okay, you just buy, condo, looks good from the outside, but actually you struggle just paying mortgage, because right now condo prices are not cheap, right? Say for example, let's say you buy a decent one condo, it could be 2 millions, 2.5 millions. Once you buy that, how much mortgage that you pay on a monthly basis? Have you really do the detailed calculations and ask yourself, can you actually afford that? Secondly, let's say if you lose your job, can you still afford that? So I think those are the things that we need to focus on. So okay, this topic here, right, I will share a bit on my stories now. So because if I just tell you that actually I'm doing ham now and I don't have glam, I mean, what does it mean, right? It's like that there's no context, like you are just telling people you stay HDB, you don't have cars, nothing interesting. But I think if I give you some, let's say like background history about how I end up like now staying in Singapore doing ham, not glams, then you can better appreciate that. I was born in this place, a town in Malaysia called Pekan. It's a very small hometown. It's about 300 kilometers from Singapore. Let's say if you drive north, right? But it's on the east coast of the West Malaysia. So it's quite parallel with Kuala Lumpur. It's just that when travel from Pekan to Kuala Lumpur, it's like towards west, and then to Singapore is towards south. So that's the place. So I was born there. I was raised in Pekan for like my primary school, secondary school is in Pekan, and then secondary school, when I was what we call Form 4 or secondary 4, right? I moved to Kuantan, which is like about 1 hour driving distance from Pekan. So I moved there. I stayed with my cousin together with my sister. We basically just like rented a room from my cousin, and then just stay there. Secondary school and high school in Kuantan. So this is like a small city city in Malaysia. Think about all these places like Pekan or Kuantan, right? These are places that almost no public transport one. Of course, you can take bus between, let's say, Pekan, Kuantan, but within the cities, right, within the town, right, actually no public transport. So basically everyone, almost everyone have cars one. So we all used to travel in and out using car. So that's the lifestyle. So at age of 17, right, that's the age when I took the exam, I got my driver license, and then can drive already, having all the funs, right, driving. So between age 19 and 20, when I was doing my high school in Kuantan, right, I sometimes borrowed my sister's car, sometimes took my family's car, and then just, having fun, because go everywhere, datings, meet friends. It's all driving cars one. So it's not like I have not experienced driving car, because driving car is not really high SES things. It's like everyone, even if you just have very, very low salary, you will still buy a car. You can buy a very small one. Last time there's this we call the Perodua Constitute. It's a very small car. Actually, that car, I think they partnership with Daihatsu. So it was like those Japanese small cars, like compact car. Some people have that kind of car. It's very cheap. It's like not even ringgit, right? Not even 30,000. You can buy a car. Or those who cannot afford, just buy second-hand resale car or second-hand. So still works. So that's the lifestyle. We all drive car in and out one. But I think compared Malaysia versus Singapore, I think people looking at car as a SES signaling more than Singapore. Because to be fair, in Singapore, right, most people don't have a car, because if you just work in office, just travel one way in, one way out every day, right, it simply doesn't make sense to spend so much money, pay for the COE, which is now more than 100,000 Singapore dollar, right? It doesn't make sense. But in Malaysia, because everyone has car, then you can compare like, whether your car is second-hand one or is it new one? Is it a small car or a large car? Is it a local like the Perodua Kanchiu car, or is it Japanese car or European cars, right? So I think people looking at car as like a bit like a SES, but at the same time, just forget about the SES. It is still very important in terms of utility, because if you don't have car, right, you forget about dating. How to date? Where do you go, right? So that's the situations in Malaysia. I think currently it's still true, because all these small cities, small town, they still have no MRT. People still travel by car all the time. Okay, that was back then. Then from the age of 21 to 23, right, as usual, I got the placement study in National University of Malaysia. So I study statistic course. I stayed 3 years in University College. No cars. Actually, back then, right, there are quite a number of my classmates. They have their cars, and for those who have cars, one, they might stay outside. They just rent a unit, stay with friends, and then you have cars. It's quite like easily, right? You want to travel around, it's quite convenient. You want to go shopping, it's very convenient. By the way, this National University of Malaysia, right, it was at Selangor, Bangi. So from Bangi to KL, maybe driving distance, I don't know exactly, maybe 30 minutes can reach, or 45 minutes, depending on whether there's traffic jam or not. So definitely I can feel like, okay, there's difference, right? For those who don't have car, you just stay inside the college with the dorms, stay in dorm, right? So when you eat, you also just eat inside, and then school canteen, basically. Not a good lifestyle, but still, I mean, okay, can survive. But those who have car, they get to enjoy that. So they have a lot more entertainments, right? So still got some difference. So I graduated at the age of 23, and then I think at the age of 24, I already bought my first condo. Okay, so that was like first job. When my job, right, just to share with you all, my salary was only ringgit, right, 2,500 ringgit. So very, very minimal ringgit, but that's the standard salary of those who have a university degree. So, but still, I wanted to buy a house, because I look at condominium not something that I want to brag about. It's more like I, from that age, already start thinking about how to accumulate assets. During those times, it's actually quite easy to buy a house. You can buy, I think down payments is about like 10%, and then there's all this stamp duty, this kind of things. It's very minimal. And then let's say if you buy a house, you can rent out immediately. You can have good rental yield from those house already. So I bought my units not too far from where I stay in KL, because I was working in KL in the first 2 to 3 years after I graduated. I think when I bought house that time, right, at the age of 24, right, it was very, very exciting because I need to check with friends, need to engage lawyer, basically get contacts, and then talk to lawyers on how to get sort out all these things about like house purchase, right? So a lot of things to learn there, like how to engage with the management, asking stuff. There's a lot of things already, like including how to look for tenant. Wow, a lot of works. So, but I was new to all these things, right? So it was still very exciting to learn about all these details. And some more, up to that point, right, when I was was age 24, right, actually house prices in Malaysia, right, it's like keep on going up, right? Every year going up one. It was a good time. I was thinking that, okay, if I can buy enough condos and then just, rent out all this, probably can retire at the age of 40, right? So that was my thinking back then. But the part that is exciting is really like to learn about the asset class, learn about this, like how to play these games, right? So that was my record. I think when I bought my first house, right, probably if I just look around my peers, right, I don't think many people bought house at the age of 24 lah. Not to say to brag about it. It's just to tell you that I was having this investor mindsets and I was looking at condo. Not to say like condominium houses, this is not an area that I haven't touched before, have no idea and totally not interested. It's not like that. So but that was in KL lah. KL versus Singapore still quite different, right? So that was then. Then at the age of 25, right, I bought my first car, okay? And this one is also partly because of family encouragement to say that, okay, maybe it's like when at the age start to need to think about like, family planning. Let's say talking about family planning, of course need to have a car, right? If not, I will be still, taking public transport even when I work in KL. First 2 to 3 years, taking public transport, taking bus. In KL, we still have like, not MRT, we call it LRT. So it's smaller versions of the MRT, but now KL already have MRT. So I'm happy with all this public transport. It's just that comparing Kuala Lumpur versus Singapore is still very different. Not as convenient, but okay, can live, still can survive with public transport now. Finally, at age of 25, I bought my first car. Yeah, it was a Toyota Vios. Malaysia, I think right now the price is probably about 80 to 90,000 ringgit. Still quite affordable. It's not like a super expensive car. Not like Singapore, right? You have the COA. In Malaysia, you don't have to pay that, right? So I think that's the best part about Malaysia. And you can drive this car even until now. This car is part with my parent-in-law. So let's say when we travel back to Malaysia, we can still use it. Quite old already. You see, at the age of 25, right? It's already 14 years old already, the car. Same car. I have not changed car before. And then at the age of 26, suddenly I got the offer and then I flew to Hong Kong. I moved to Hong Kong to work there. So bought the car is like useless already. But all these things sometimes it's very hard to plan, right? When I bought the car, I also don't know that I will get the offer to work in Hong Kong. And when I got the offer, I was thinking that, wow, these things, right? It's like I have no chance to study overseas, but now I got chance to work overseas, right? Why not, right? So I seized the opportunity, moved to Hong Kong, and then just worked there for a year, okay? But why I'm telling all these things, right, is not to say that, okay, this is just sharing life journey versus like for the sake of sharing, right? It's not like that. Just to tell you that, like when I compare Malaysia, right, like we're talking about hometown or talking about KL, when we talk about car, it's like necessity, everyone is driving car. And when you talk about driving car, it's not just like having a car that usable. People actually upgrade one every few years, right? If they can afford, they actually change a better car. And then it always looks good when you have a new car, right? People will see, wow, you bought a new car, stuff like that. So, but when I traveled to Hong Kong, worked there, I realized that actually the bosses, right, the big bosses, right, they actually came to work taking public transport. So that was the first time I was thinking, oh, why so weird? Why even the bosses also take public transport? The one reason is because for places like Hong Kong, the public transport is so convenient that you don't want to drive car, because let's say if you drive a car, right, you park your car at a place that you might even need to walk longer to your workplace. So it's just not convenient as compared to like just taking public transport now. So that was the first time when I have this thought that, okay, actually car, sometimes if you just think about it like just a utility, right, actually you don't really need one depending on your situation, depending on where you stay. That's one. And then the second one, right, is that when that was another employment, not in Hong Kong one, right, when I got the chance to work overseas and travel to Europe, right, I noticed that the big bosses in Europe, right, they travel to work by cycling. So that was the like quite eye-opening for me. It's like, huh? they can cycle to office one. But I mean, cycling in Germany, sometimes it depends on the seasons, right, depending on the weather. Let's say if you cycle during winter, not winter, like it's like not except for summer, right, it is quite comfortable to cycle. And even if you wear suits and cycle, right, you won't sweat like crazy, right? So it works. So it depends on the different city, different places. So then talking about all this, car, right, that's when I realized that actually when talk about transport, right, when talk about cars, sometimes you should just think about it as a utility instead of like thinking in terms of socio-economic status. So come back to the story. At the age of 26, I got married in the same year. And then at the age age of 27, my elder son was born. At the age of 28, my second son was born. And then at the age of 27, actually, I moved to Singapore and start working here. And then, of course, when I start working in Singapore, I mean, I just rent a small room and then just travel by public transport. And I was happy with the public transport here because when I was comparing public transport in Singapore versus, for example, like KL, like KL public transport, yes, you have, but it's just not as convenient. Let's say if I work in KL, I still prefer to buy to have a car, right? So that's the difference. So I was just renting a small room with the house owner, and then basically my family was still in Kuantan, and then every 2 weeks I travel back and forth between Singapore and Kuantan. The reason is also because like cost because let's say if I just rent a room and then just they come over to Singapore, I think it would be quite a stretch because my income back then was very, very low. And then let's say if you think about like the cost renting a big, like let's say even HDB unit, right, it's just too costly. So I was thinking that I need to focus on the saving part first, make sure that I have enough down payment and then buy the HDB, then only they come to Singapore. So that was the plan. So I was living like that for 6 years until at the age of 32, then I bought my first HDB, which is the unit that I'm staying now. It cost me 382,000. The good part is that I get a decent size unit because it is a 5-room unit. But right now, I think there's a bit of, maybe you can call it regret because I think that this place, right, travel to work is a bit far. So for me, it's like I need to travel 1 hour 15 minutes to my office. But the good thing is that I don't need to go to office every day. If it is like 5 days a week, it's quite tiring. But I think right now, still the same thing, right? I treat this HDB, although if you look at the price now, probably it can fetch, let's say, maybe 550k, maybe even up to 600,000 just because it is a 5-room HDB, right? But I don't see this like investment return. To me, it is just utility. I stay at this place. I don't need to be chased out by the owner, right? Then that's good enough for me already. That was the place that I'm staying now. So that was age 32, right? Then from age 32 until now, my age is actually like 39 this year. By the way, ContraTurle is 38, right? So our age is quite similar. So between this period, right, because I already settled my house, my savings, no need to save for houses already. That's why money can go into stock market and really focusing on the investing, right? So when I talk about investing, really my focus is like building my stock portfolio rather than thinking about keep upgrading the houses. The reason is because I still see houses, right, as like expenses. Basically, if I change my house, right, like upgrade to a, let's say like condo or EC, right, basically I buy a larger assets, okay, then I rent it to myself, right? Because if you, I think that's the right way to think of buying houses and stay inside, right? Because if you don't stay in the house that you bought, right, you can actually rent out to other people's and then get the returns, but you are not renting out to people's. Then what it means is that you are actually renting to yourself. Then you have to pay the rent yourself, right? And for bigger units, the rent is just higher. So I just don't feel like I want to pay that kind of money, and that's one reason. Second reason is also because I'm currently staying at 5 rooms, right? If I move to another unit, let's say I play all these, upgrading games, even if I change to a condo, right? And just to get a similar size condo, I mean, it probably cost me 2.5, 3 million, 3.5 millions. Who can afford that kind of monies, right? So then everything is that you are betting on whatever price that you pay. Let's say 3 million you pay on that. You're betting that 3 million will continue to grow. If it stop growing, right, then I mean the losses can be very big because 3 million is still a big sum of money, right? And you still need to serve, still need to commit to pay the mortgage. So I don't want to make myself stress out because of the mortgage. So because you don't know, right, all these things, we haven't really encountered big recessions for quite a number of years except for during COVID period. Let's say there's recession, people are losing jobs, right? It can be quite stressed out for that reason, right? That's why I'd rather put my money in stock market, put some money in cash, in all these emergency funds. I have enough to sustain myself. So basically that's the plan. Houses wise, keep it low, keep the commitment low. Right now, I think the total mortgage remaining one, right, is just slightly above 200,000, quite comfortable levels. So that's why you see, like, I don't stress out financially. I think one reason is also because I don't play all these SES games. No car here because for me, I just don't need that kind of utility. Let's say if my work require me to travel back and forth like many places in a day, right? Maybe it makes sense. But for me, it's just like from house to office, from office back home, just like that. I don't think I need a car, right? So even with young families, when my family, like my kids stay in Singapore, right? They started in kindergartens here and then primary school. They are young kids, right? But still, we just don't want to spend that kind of money to buy a car. So that was a conscious decision and focusing on the saving rather than just spending and keep having all these lifestyle upgrades. Back to the story, right? No car, no all these condo upgrading games, focusing on just investing, focusing on just stock market. Basically, that's the way of life. That's the go ham, no glam. Just want to share that because I think when I watch ContraTurle videos, right? Actually, I met him. We had a lunch before. We have a lengthy talks before. I just realized it's actually quite interesting because I was raised in Malaysia and then just started work. Then work in Malaysia first, then only came to Singapore, right? For ContraTurle, right? He's native Singaporeans, but somehow when talk about like, all these financial things, right? Our thought process, our thinking is very, very aligned. And he mentioned to me that he is not like from the first day he's behaving like this, like go ham, not glams. Actually, at one point in his life, also he thought about all this, condo, all this upgrade, all these SES things. I think he either played before, I don't know how, I forgot like how extensive it is, but he's onto those kind of things before, and then now suddenly at one point he shift his focus on like just focusing on investing, focusing on the real stuff instead of like those like SES things. So no more SES. I think that's the things that we want to encourage people have this kind of thinkings. So just to let you know, my monthly mortgage right now is 1,300, so it's very, very affordable. Even if I lose my job, I don't think I need to stress out, become too stressful because of that. So I think that's the things that I get. Like I don't get to stay at a place that is like super nice, super close to the city center, nice location. But to me, it's still quite nice. I mean, MRT is just like 10 minutes walk away, right? So to me, it's still very convenient. But the things that I get is that I don't have, it's more stress-free just because I don't play all this upgrading, and I free up more surplus, more capital to do stock investing, which is something that I enjoy a lot. So that's the arrangement. Just focus on the stocks, right? This is the real annualized returns. Basically, it's already net off the inflations. In the past 200 years, right, you still get like 6.3%. Even if for the next 30 years, you don't get 6%, let's say if you just get 3 or 4%, right, plus the inflations of about, let's say 2 to 3%, I think if you invest in stocks, right, as long as you invest long enough, I think between 8% to 9%, this is a very reasonable expectations. So I think 8 to 9% returns investing in stocks, right, still a lot better as compared to, let's say, like playing the upgrade games. For those who play the upgrade games, right, I think what they get is like, okay, looks good. People actually want that, right? So nothing wrong with that. Second thing is that it's good because you can leverage up. Even if the houses appreciate, let's say, just 4 or 5%, as long as you can get cheap financing, let's say like 2% or even lower, right, you get to enjoy the leverage returns. That's the good part about playing the condo or property games. But you actually don't know whether house price can keep going up. Actually, you don't know, because right now, first things, valuations is already not cheap. That's one. And then second thing is that I don't know, I observe different regions, right? I don't think house price can keep going up, because for businesses, for stocks, I think it's the earnings that's going up, right? Then come to houses, right? Actually, what's the earnings? I think the equivalent is just the rental. Then you need to ask yourself, can rental actually keep going up? And then if you observe around, of course, there's this period where rental just went up a lot more, right? Then like right now, I don't think it is like keep going up every year sustainably, right? Sometimes it can get stagnant also. So, I mean, you need to choose between these two. Then the other thing is that, let's say if you play the condo games too much, right, you become too stretched in terms of like meeting all these mortgage commitment, right? Then you don't have enough money to put into stock market already. So then it becomes more like for those who don't have a lot of surplus or saving to invest, if you stretch out on one part too much, actually you don't have a lot more capital to invest in stocks. Then your portfolio become a lot more concentrated, and your concentration is not just one asset class, it's basically concentration in just like one property. Too much money stuck there, you don't have other monies, and you're just busy paying mortgage. So I think that's the part. Sometimes it can make your entire financials just suck up into that. You are basically stuck, right? Just because you want to play the games. Of course, for those who can afford, let's say if you have high paying job, and then let's say both couples working, if you look at your annual household incomes, it is decent enough and you think you can afford, I mean, so be it, right? I'm referring to those people who they can save, but it's not a lot, but they still want to play the condo games. Better think twice. So, alright, I think that's all about sharing today. Okay, thank you so much. See you.